Here's Record of the Week, where me and Stewie listened to records that inspired us and made us wonder, how did they do that?
Waterloo Sunset.
By the Kinks.
What a great record. Let's start from the back. Let's start from the fade. So you want to work our way to the intro?
What fade?
What fade?
It's literally like as fast
A
as...
second.
Yeah, less.
And now, you think the song kept going on? And they just...
I mean, I think they wanted it to be like 3 minutes and 10 seconds and get the hell out of there, right? I mean, think about it. Yeah, I think they just were like, done.
It's funny, it sounds like an ending, except it's a fade, but it was so fast that it sounds like it just ends.
Yeah.
Obviously, one of the great Kinks recordings of all time.
I mean, it's one of my favorite songs of all. If I had to do a top 10.
Yeah, like that was released in 1967.
Yeah, I guess.
So it was maybe recorded in 66. Height of the British, or you
might
think
have been recorded in 67?
The day before, right?
Who knows, right?
Right.
I mean, think about it. Like these days, it's weird that, I finish a record and a year later it comes out, or like 9 months later. I mean, back then, they probably walked it from the mixing studio right to the mastering guy. He probably cut it and they probably walked it over to the radio station. Right. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. But yeah, I'm sure the turnaround was fairly quick.
Right. But you figure it's an 8-track recording?
Right? I mean, 67? Or was it still... I can't imagine.
It was done at Pi.
Right.
And interesting that it's the first record that Shel Talmy did not produce. I never knew that.
It was, it's on something else.
Right.
And that was the first one they did without him.
Right, that Ray produced.
Yeah. So Shel was basically the Kinks' long time, like he did all the records in the early 60s. But until then.
Right.
Yeah.
But what's striking to me about going back and listening to it now on a full-range speaker is how it rocks. It just rocks, right?
Yeah, it sounds fantastic, right?
But the drums are barely present.
Yeah.
Barely any bass.
Right.
Like, what's the element in it that just rocks?
The vocal, the acoustic for sure. Stewart's playing air guitar, but also like the vocal, right?
Yeah.
The vocal is so on top in a really wonderful way. The lyrics are amazing,
right?
You're right. It's this bright-ish acoustic guitar. It's
sort of
really
bashed.
Really stringy, right? Which is really great.
As long as I gaze on Waterloo Sunset, I am in paradise.
And then the second loudest musical instrument is that melody guitar with the little slap on it.
Yeah.
But it's got that short little maybe tape delay.
Yeah, I think.
Well, what do you mean? Maybe tape 1967 tape delay. Right.
Eventide hadn't gotten to it yet. Otherwise, it would have been the H9.
Right. But no, so it's got a little tape delay on it, and damn, I mean, it just sounds fantastic.
And, it's one of those things where, like, the melody is so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And the way it marries to the words.
Right.
And that's like the visceral response you get is you take for granted that melody did not exist before that song.
Right.
I mean, that's the genius of like great songwriting is you think that it's
timeless
songwriting.
songwriting.
And one of the great elements is the use of background vocals.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's no overdubs. It sounds like acoustic guitar, electric guitar,
weird, right?
bass and drums.
So maybe it was. I can't imagine. There are still, considering so many layers to it, I can't imagine it was really just 4-track. You know what I mean?
There aren't that many layers. There's the band,
and there's the overdub guitar, and at the end there's that. It sounds like there's a piano hit.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely stuff going on. I mean,
but it sounds like one electric guitar, one acoustic guitar.
Right.
And it's a little hard to make out because it's mono.
Oh,
or at least
right.
what we're
Good point.
hearing.
So it is mono, right? So maybe it was 4-track. Maybe
hard, but so if they did it, whether it was 4 or 8, those background vocals are pretty. They're pretty rich. There's a lot of voices there.
No, you mean Rich sang the background vocals? Sorry.
His brother. He had another brother. Rich Davies.
Anyway, so...
Cheap Mike was on that side.
Cheap Mike. How come I have a pop screen and you don't?
Because you pop a lot. I think
Sir
I'm
pop a lot?
Papadopoulos.
Okay, anyway, but we're talking about the backgrounds being super rich.
beautiful and
Yeah.
arranged, and obviously those were overdubbed. But
In the history of Sha-La-La,
yeah,
where do you think are these the first? Like
no.
Van Morrison was the first Sha-La-La?
I think that was maybe
Them?
a doo-wop thing
Right, okay,
that they
gotcha.
adapted. But so this was like British invasion, the height of British invasion. Think about 1967, the other stuff that was being recorded in England.
Right.
They probably were in pipe because someone was at Abbey Road.
Right, the Beatles,
Some band
the Rolling Stones.
or Trident or wherever. So curious to me why they decided to produce that themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think
If that was a creative decision or
I think Ray, in hindsight, I think I read somewhere where in hindsight he said he probably should not have done that. But I mean, think about it. You make a bunch. You're on your fourth or fifth record. You've made them with one guy, and maybe you think you know how to make record. You know what I mean? Like you're like, all right, let's just do it ourselves.
Well, they were kind of those early Kinks records are not great sounding records.
Right. This is actually a great sounding
Really
record.
great sounding record.
Right? I mean, this is this being one of my favorite songs forever. I've never listened to it in the studio, but listening on your Genelex,
Right.
it sounds fantastic. It makes me love it even more.
I know. There are so many potential, like you can fault the recording
Right.
by not having real bottom, or you don't hear the bass guitar, you barely hear the drums.
Yeah.
That was my point about why it rocks so much. It's got this really great attitude, and of course that's largely the vocal.
Right.
But the bashing acoustic guitar almost sounds like that's like
Right.
a ride cymbal or a hi-hat, or
Yeah. It's very bright.
it's very bright.
It's very stringy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily bright, but stringy. You know what I mean? Which I actually really like. I mean, I couldn't get away with recording a guitar like that.
I know.
now,
No,
right?
that's why I'm thinking like this is a classic record.
Yeah.
But listening in the studio, you hear all the technical
Yeah.
faults. Oh, I don't know if they're faults.
Not faults.
Because the misgivings where if one of us had made that record, we'd be going, hey, Vay,
It's
how come
also
there's no
50
bass?
years old.
I know.
So that's, I think, the perspective, right? It is fucking old. It's almost as old as I am. Right? So, I mean,
Not even close.
But think about think about, recording in the 60s, right?
Right.
I mean, we just said it was a 4-track or 8-track.
Right.
The fact that you're discussing that when now we have a 1,000,000-track, you know what I mean? It's just like,
But do you think the bass is light because the concern of going to vinyl?
could be.
Right.
Could be. I also just, it's a mono mix. It's not everything can be super loud.
Right.
So, I mean, I feel like that's I hear the bass when we were talking about when the bass drops out in the intro.
Yeah.
Right, when they go to
If it drops out, but it
drops
sounds like it does.
But they're playing the verse melody.
Mm-hmm.
It goes from the little walk down to the verse melody, and then it seems like the bass goes away in that little intro. But then when it comes back in on the verse, you hear it. You hear it great. Yeah, I feel like it sounds.
It just sounds like an odd arrangement decision. You got this rock band, and all of a sudden the song starts and the bass stops. So either it's there and we can't hear it,
Right.
or it's just a decision they made.
Yeah.
Also, like the thing that comes right on when the record starts is that guitar,
Right.
the guitar line, single note guitar line.
Well, it starts with the descending, right?
right.
And then it goes.
and
to
then
the,
it goes to the guitar line. But what a classic sounding guitar.
right. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a hollow body, right? It's got
But
that
it's definitely
thickness.
a neck pickup with flat wound strings.
Was it maybe Gretsch?
Maybe a
Gretsch was the thing
or-
back then. I mean, but like once again, really, just that song is that's an emotional song for me,
Right.
not in a negative way or anything. I just feel like when he's singing that song, I just feel it, and it's a great story. It's a
right.
it's a love song. It's a love story. Like the vision of Waterloo Sunset is, it's very visual. So
Interesting, like songwriter thing. Originally, it was, I believe, going to be Liverpool Sunset. And he changed it, but he had to find something that obviously sang
do we
the
know
same
why he
way.
changed it?
I don't know. But it had to be three syllables.
3 syllables. Right, North Bergen Sunset.
And
Weehawken Sunset. No? That works. Let me text Ray.
Hoboken.
Hoboken.
See, Jersey City.
No, it
would
doesn't
not
work.
have worked.
Doesn't work. Jersey City does not work. Anyway, so yeah, I think. I
think, to your point, the melody is so compelling and it just has an emotional hit to it as soon as you hear those notes.
Yeah.
In combination with, and I think also Waterloo is maybe a more beautiful word to sing than Liverpool.
Yeah.
Or maybe not as well known.
Was Liverpool kind of more like a grimy sailor town or something?
I think
you know what I mean? Like something
right,
like
it was
that.
Grittier.
So maybe Waterloo
Had a more
not,
beautiful connotation.
Yeah. That's cool. But
I do like Weehawken Sunset.
Let me text him. Come on. He's a text away. Oh, boy.
But I think there's not much more to say about that one. It's because it's not like, the Procol Harum thing, or it's not a really, other than the background vocals, it's a performance.
Yeah. Yeah.
You hear one guitar, one bass.
I love also that it's just in mono. It's so simple, and it's, the other thing is listening at home on my little pill. Mm-hmm. Like you don't really hear a lot of anything except for the vocal and the guitar.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter, when I play this at home, I just, it's just my...
I mean, unless you reach in, you almost don't hear the drums.
I know.
They appear here and there, even though they're playing the whole way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lesson to us all to not make the drums too loud.
Yeah, clearly not produced by the drummer.
Right.
Before the time of More Me.
Yeah, right.
Pre-More Me, baby. Wow, pre-More Me, baby. Say that. All right, thanks, everybody. That was Record of the Week.
Yes.
Waterloo Sunset,
Well
the
done.
Kinks.
Yes.
Chilly, chilly is the evening time. Waterloo sunset time. Waterloo sunset time. Terry meets Julie. Waterloo Station. Every Friday night.
For extras from the episodes, like playlists, links, and videos, head over to gearclubpodcast.com. Sign up for the newsletter, and come say hi and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Gear Club Podcast. Thanks for listening.
And please, if you like what you hear, let us know and leave a review.